really, mathematically perfected economy is just a small thing, in the scheme of all the things that we have to do and all the ways that we have to grow up. But in truth, mathematically perfected economy is the first thing that we have to grow up in, and that is because we can't even afford to do anything else right otherwise, So what people really need in their lives is a model to live it according to, so that they can live right. It's not wrong to sit on your couch and have a beer and watch Monday Night Football, but it is wrong to sit on your couch and have a beer after beer after beer every Monday night during all football season, and the rest of the year watch whatever Dancing with the Stars or whatever crap, while 125,000 children under the ages of 12 are roaming the streets of just one city, Los Angeles, homeless. How many 12-year-old girls are getting raped tonight because all you can think of is drinking a beer, when you could, and entertaining yourself while you yourself are going down. That kind of irresponsibility is something we have to grow out of forever. First things come first. And is that a great challenge? In truth, it really isn't. But people have to take responsibility, like you have, of studying, well, what are the possible answers? And then you have to ask all the questions you're asking. You have to say, okay, well, this guy says there's one and one only integral solution. If you pay attention to my definition, there it is, one and one only integral solution. What does that mean? Well, I was in college algebra in the second grade, and all of my math teachers meant something exactly. And then I never had to have it explained to me. One and one only. They said one and one only all the time. Different teachers did, and it was like, wow, who could ever question what that meant? Whenever they said it, it was an unquestionable thing that they were telling you. One and one only. You stop right there and you say, okay, one and one only integral solution. And then this guy gives three categoric faults: inflation and deflation and maldisposition. And okay, so is there an alternate solution for any of those things, much less all three put together? Absolutely not, because anything but the obligatory schedule of payment engenders either inflation or deflation, and interest engenders maldisposition of the currency. So obviously the second one is harder to understand: systemic manipulation of the cost or value of money or property. But let's go to the third, which is inherent, irreversible, and therefore terminal multiplication of artificial indebtedness in proportion to a circulation or remaining capacity to pay. Okay, well, unless you eradicate interest, you get that. So there's only one solution for that as well. And then I explain finally that, what you've done in solving those two things is you've eradicated every power which engenders systemic manipulation of the cost or value of money or property. So, in fact, you've already solved the second categoric fault. And it's that simple. A person doesn't have to give more quality time to it than we, just done in reiterating what I've probably said, Jesus, 10,000 times at least in my life, if not, many times that, So it's really simple, and it's those simple principles and those simple principles only which give us a true free market. We don't have a free market otherwise. It's those principles only which give us a true free enterprise. We don't have true free enterprise otherwise. Capitalism is, as the communists always denounced it, it was an evil thing. It is an evil thing. It's people who don't work for what profit they take, taking all the unearned profit that they can, which can only come at the expense of true producers of wealth being rewarded commensurate with whatever they've contributed to whatever they've produced, or contributed to the pool of wealth. You see, so capitalism has gone beyond this idea of ownership of capital. It used to be ownership of labor too. It's gone beyond that to this unearned profit thing. And regardless, however you define the word, or it's not just a mere idea of connotation. It's this idea of unearned profit. Well, it's like, your garage door is open and you've got all these tools and engines and things that kids might want to steal from you, and you leave your garage open all night long, and every night somebody comes in and steals from it. Well, from you. Well, the truth of the matter is, a thief, which is what taking unearned profit is really about, doesn't impose limitations on themselves. If they want to come back to the garage later at a time, they might leave something, so that you don't notice that you're being stolen from. Say they could carry something off, but they couldn't carry something else off, So they leave it to take it for another time and kind of do things without making noise and all that. But then again, if another thief gets involved and they say, well, that garage is open all the time, they don't know what the other guy is stealing, so they take something else, and that's the very thing that gives the whole thing away. When you get everyone involved in it and there's no natural limit put on it at all, it goes through the roof. That alone would be terminal. The very idea of unearned profit itself is terminal, because unrestrained, it will naturally escalate to consume everything. In fact, this lie that we call economy is a case of that. You see, it's a perfect case of it. It's a few people saying, well, here's a great way to steal from everyone. We tell them that, they can't issue their own money. We publish their promissory obligations, into circulation. So we intervene between the real creditors, which are the people that give up the property in exchange for the promissory obligations, and the debtors who give up the promissory obligations. And we say, no, you've got to issue your promissory obligations on our paper. So for 10 cents, we issue the $100,000 into circulation for the $100,000 house. And then we launder the principal into our own possession. We didn't give up $100,000 for it. We gave up a 10-cent piece of paper. And so now we're enriching, just for laundering the principal into our possession, we've enriched ourselves to the extent of all the principal ever created in this way, which is a phenomenal theft in itself. And then we multiply that into all this further debt and terminal debt by interest. You see? No restraint. It steals everything. Gone, bye-bye, kiss your hiney, it's over, So, it's a thing we have to grow up beyond, People in Ron Paul forums, they say, well, who would loan us money if it weren't subject to interest? And, it's like, okay, start at the beginning, bud, if you want to go way back, but start at the beginning. What do you mean we're borrowing money from the bank? All this money already existed? How did it get created? You see? What is it we're borrowing? It's nothing but evidence of our own promissory obligations to each other. And no matter how you slice and dice it up, it just comes down to that. It's that simple. You're not borrowing money at all. Oh, well, if I want to loan my friend, money at 17% interest because he screw up, that's what I'm going to do. And other people in Ron Paul forums are telling guys like that now, well, with friends like you, who needs enemies? Number one, we'll allow these people to do that, but what we're saying is, okay, all you banker guys and all you so-called financier guys who, we're putting you on an island, okay? You want to not work, produce anything, and take all of, the pool of wealth. Have your own island. You're perfectly free to do that amongst yourselves, but you can't interact with us. Sorry. You're incompatible. We can't have you. So what you have to do is you have to charge yourselves whatever interest you think is right and find out the consequences of it. You're slow learners. We're faster. We already know. So goodbye to you. Here's your rubber raft. Get in your rubber raft now, because we're towing you all over there and dropping you off. And that's it.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate this. I got the question straightened out. I've got some more thinking to do, but I feel like you are a big arrow pointing down the right path, and so I really appreciate this. I have to let you go, though, unfortunately. I was wondering, could I get your email so I can shoot you a couple more questions if they come up?
Yeah, you can. So how do we resolve the issues raised in Jeremy's question about how to monetize gold, for instance? These questions are answered, in fact, by our perfection of principles in mathematically perfected economy, and by the strict adherence, therefore, to the principles we have perfected. By understanding that anything but immutable tokens of value will engender offense, we know any process of monetization must engender immutable tokens of value. By understanding that only a perpetual one-to-one-to-one relationship between remaining circulation, remaining value of represented property, and remaining obligation sustains immutability in our tokens of value, or money, we understand the vital nature of the lifespan of property in terms of how ownership, or a fact of proprietary accountability for issuance of a promissory obligation, must be accounted for, that no injustice is imposed. Thus we perfect our terminology to reflect resolution of these issues, and so we express the necessary mechanics of justice in indispensable intrinsic terminology, which accounts for all matters of concern. Thus we have a term, proprietary determinate lifespan, or lifespan, which we define thus, and which answers for the issues raised in the preceding question about how to monetize property which does not depreciate. So the definition of this term, proprietary determinate lifespan, is: for the sake of determining rate of payment over a justified integral time span, a period over which a property must be considered to be consumed by facts commencing at a moment of initial consumption and ending when either A, the property is delivered to further parties assuming a new promissory obligation, which essentially ends the applicable period of the preceding promissory obligation, or B, ending when the property endures to a further point short of the potential longevity of the property itself, but beyond which the property cannot be expected to be consumed either by the obligated party or further obligated parties, or C, ending at a point determined by the actual lifespan of a property, which by virtue of both conducive rates of depreciation or consumption, which is payment, and perpetual desirability of the property over its actual lifespan, a promissory obligation can be expected to be sustained by further parties willing to assume the remaining obligation across the whole natural lifespan of the property. The proprietary determinate lifespan, therefore, is the minimum of these prospectively applicable time spans, because neither the integrity of the currency or the integrity of promissory obligations can be maintained unless fulfillment is ensured, that payment retires the respective circulation according to responsibility for consuming the property across the proprietary determinate lifespan. An alternate definition then of this term proprietary determinate lifespan is lifespan, which is an abbreviated referential expression of the proprietary determinate lifespan as pertains restrictively to mathematically perfected economy in the necessary sense